Oh, so the guy that wrote the first question, he says, should you unfriend a girl who disappeared for a number of weeks? And should I ask her friend why she ghosted? So this is, I assume this is in response to the same girl you're talking about in the previous situation, right? So here's the thing, guy. You don't look good or win any points for trying to call a girl out or trying to get to her friends and say, your friend stopped talking to me and I need to know what's up. Like, that's not a good thing. Like, realistically, women that like you help you, women that don't won't. So if you find that a woman that you were talking to suddenly disappeared, that's the sign that for whatever reason, it just wasn't gelling with her and you in the situation, and she's no longer interested. So you trying to now pursue a woman that's no longer interested is a waste of energy. As for trying to ask her friend why she ghosted, this is the hardest part that I had to learn about dating, is that sometimes when a woman leaves you, you do not get to get an answer for that. Sometimes the disappearance itself is the answer and is the closure. And I stress this because it feels and looks very beta and very beggy to try to figure out the reasons behind why a girl left you that's no longer giving you the same energy. Like, you're going to spend time and energy and effort trying to figure out what you did wrong and put together, a Da Vinci Code of matrices to try to figure out what the heck happened. And the reality is it doesn't matter. The bottom line is that she left, she's not there, and you move on. And as you get used to doing that, you'll find that when women leave you, it'll be no big deal. I've told the story on here before about I had a girl I was dating for like 6 or 7 months, and then we get back from a Vegas trip. We get back from a holiday trip, and I decided to go to Vegas with some of my friends because I just needed a break from her because at that point it was almost over anyway. But like, my friend was like, hey, I rented out a timeshare and I have an extra room that's not being used. Do you want to take that room? As an introvert, I needed my alone time. And I was like, I can go to Vegas, get my own room, get my alone time, and be chill in a nice decked out apartment. Like, freaky, I'm doing that. And I left. I didn't tell her I was going. And so she found out because she tried to contact my cousin about some birthday stuff that she wanted to do for me. And to be fair, she was kind of hurt that I didn't tell her I was leaving town. That's my bad. I got to own that, because in a relationship, you got to tell people what you're doing. But I didn't do that. But she wrote me a text just one morning saying, hey, I don't think this is working out. And so I'm out. And she didn't explain why. She didn't say how she felt about anything. She just was just like, I'm out. And my response was like, okay. Because at that point, I recognized that if she had wanted to talk about it, she would. If she didn't want to, then that's her right. But also, if this was a ploy to try to get me to then try to ask her questions and talk about stuff, that I wasn't that guy either. But the point is that I got to the point where I realized ultimately, regardless of the reasoning, it doesn't really matter. Like, you're not going to be happy either way you hear about it. At best, you can try to decipher from what you have with your own knowledge right now, what you possibly did wrong that you need to fix in the future, which if you rewind back earlier in this or saw it earlier, you kind of know what some of those things were, like the whole talking about going overseas and trying to call and ask her if it's okay to hook up with other girls or meet other girls. Like, maybe not do that for the future. So that's now a lesson for you. So just don't do that, and you'll ideally have better results with the next girl. But like, yeah, sometimes you just don't get answers, and you have to be fine with. Our brains are wired to want to be able to understand things and know the mechanics behind every single thing that's happening to us, including why people treat us certain ways. And as the Joker famously said as Alfred famously said in The Dark Knight, when the Joker was just going around destroying everything, sometimes people just want to see the world burn. Like, there's no method to the madness. It's just, I want to do a thing and I'm out. And you have to get comfortable with that sometimes being the same way that women are going to get rid of you. So I hope that might be the answer you want to hear, but hopefully that helps you get some better understanding about why I consider that a terrible idea to try to ask her friends why she goes it. And also, thank you for the super chat money. I appreciate that a lot. Another person left a comment here in the chat saying, my girlfriend skipped my messages for 3 weeks. I feel disrespected. How to gain respect again. This is literally like the same thing I just talked about, is that when people go ghost, well, I don't know the reason behind why she went ghost, for starters. I don't know if you were just texting her all the time and then she just suddenly stopped. I don't know if you guys had a fight or argument and then she just suddenly stopped talking to you. But I know that women that like you are going to want to have regular contact. So when you start seeing signs that indicate a woman is either disinterested or is losing interest or is out, sorry to say, guys, you trying to fight that or combat that is not a winning strategy. I think as men, we are very much doers. And so we feel as though we can do something in order to fix situations where women are starting to leave us. And that, I find the majority of the time, is really not the case. Like if you were in a long enough relationship to where things are kind of going haywire and she backs off for a bit, you can leave her alone for like a month or so and then, hit up with like a text or something saying like, hey, so, it seems like you want to talk about something. Let me know when we can chat, But for some stuff, it's just they're being disrespectful and rude, and you don't have to put up with that. So if they want to ignore you, if you've tried to reach out, because I don't know if you've tried to reach out, if you tried reaching out to her after 3 weeks and said, hey, want to see what's up, can we talk? And she hasn't responded, that's your answer. And you got to move on. And again, the moving on portion of dating sucks because especially if it's someone that you really liked and you really thought you had chemistry with, or you were with for a good capacity of time, then the idea that they can just up and leave you and be that disrespectful when they leave without wanting to have a conversation is very hard for our brains to conceptually get. And yet it happens all the time. And it's just something that as somebody in the dating world, you're gonna have to deal with at times. And it's not fair and it's not fun, but that is a real part. But this is why I tell you guys, it's also important to learn how to be indifferent to outcomes, because when this kind of behavior happens, it's not going to affect you as much because you'll just be like, okay, well, they were rude. They didn't want to call me and let me know that we're broken up. So, all right, on to somebody else. And that's how I take dating these days, where I literally, these days, I typically have done most of the dumping if I'm getting out of a relationship. But the few times that I've either been stood up or broken up with since I got decent at dating, I have found my result has been like, I'll be sad about it for like a day and then be like, well, ultimately they can choose who they want and I can choose who I want. And there's a plethora of women out there. I can't stress you guys enough. We get so hooked up on this one person has to be our end all be all. And that is just not the case. The reality is who you are will fit a wide spectrum of women if only you're willing to put yourself out there. But if you're not, then you're always going to have a limited view and think you can only get this person. If it doesn't work out, you're going to be so freaking hurt. And that's just not how this works. And actually, the crux of today's show is going to really deep dive into how that ties into having a negative self-perception of yourself, okay? But needs to say, when those kind of things happen, recognize it for what it is, and then try your best to move on. If you need help with that, you can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com and you can sign up for a coaching session.
You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-class man. You a high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value,